Today we are going to be sanding down the van once again before painting. Hopefully this is the final sanding before we get paint on this bad boy. We're going to be using a 600 grit sandpaper and a 1000 grit sandpaper and going over the whole thing with palm sanders and maybe a block to get in like the nooks and crannies and stuff to get it all as smooth as we can before paint. So here we go. Also, I was literally kneeling on the ground in front of this coral vine because it's just magnificent. Alright, so we are just about done for the day. We got everything sanded down with the palm sanders, and then we also used like a block sander, you know, one of these bad boys to get in the nooks and crannies. There are some spots that aren't perfect. Everything's pretty smooth, like that is smooth, but there's some spots that have rust or that are hard to get to that aren't as smooth as like would get it. But like I said, I clearly am not a professional, and we're doing what we can, so it's gonna be fine. Next up, we just hit everything with some compressed air to get the dust off before starting our final step before paint, which was wrapping everything that we didn't want to be white. So the top part's gonna be white, the bottom part's gonna be blue, so we're gonna start off by using this saran wrap that my dad had to wrap most of the bottom part before taping a nice crisp line between the white and the blue. Here it is all taped up. I tried my best to get the line between the two as straight as I could to keep that nice and crisp, and then we covered the rest, like I said, with the plastic wrap, and we have the windows covered with some brown paper and tape as well. So on the top we'll be using a white called Oxford White, and then the bottom is going to be a Transport Blue. Before mixing up the paint, we're just going to give everything a good wipe down with a dry cloth and a cloth with a little bit of acetone to get all the dust and debris off. Here is the official paint color reveal. I got my paint from a website called TCP Global, and I'll be using their acrylic urethane paint, which is a 3-to-1 mix of paint and hardener. They also sent these filters, which is nice. They gave me an extra gallon sized can for mixing, and they sent me an extra quart when my first gallon arrived busted, which was very nice. So there is the white color. This is Oxford White, and I'm just gonna mix 4 parts of paint with 1 part of hardener. Give it a good mix, which I just shook the can. And then we're gonna strain it through these little strainers that they gave us into the spray gun, and it's time to get painting. The key here is to do a light coat, multiple light coats, and we're starting in the very middle of the roof and working our way out and then down to the edges so that our hose does not drag in the paint that we've already done. Here is what it looked like after 1 coat of paint, and I was already liking it a lot. There were some spots that were a little bit mottled looking that I figured would fix themselves after a 2nd and 3rd coat. Right there is where you can see the mottled look. But overall I was pretty happy with it, and we were actually able to get a 2nd and a 3rd coat done all in this one day, which was very nice. There's the first coat on the left and the 2nd coat on the right, so you can see the difference. And then here it is after the 3rd and final coat. It was looking very nice. There's a spot that was rusted, and I'm okay with how it looks. I'm not gonna worry about that. So with this lovely white van, it was time to call it a night and let it cure completely. Here is what it looked like after it was completely dry, and it was so shiny and so smooth. I was really pleased with it. I couldn't stop running my hands along it. It was so smooth, like so much smoother than I thought we could get it, which was very nice to see. I do think we went on with the 3rd coat a little bit heavy, so we had a few drips on the rail that separates the white from the blue. So we just went in with a sander and took care of that, and it worked pretty well. I thought it was fine for me how it turned out. Here's what it ended up looking like. You can hardly see where the drips were. And then there was one spot also that the paint chipped off, so we just used a Q-tip dipped in paint to cover that spot back up, and I think that that worked pretty well too. Like I said, it's not perfect. I never expected it to be perfect, but I really love how it looks, and I'm very pleased with the job we did as very much not professionals. So here is what the white looked like after our final touch-ups, and I was very happy with it, and I celebrated by picking some zinnias in the nighttime from the garden. The next task was taking off all of the tape and plastic wrap from the bottom of the van, which was very satisfying, and then retaping it so that we could paint the blue. Here's my very professional stance for taping. So we're taping off all of the white that we just did, and I tried to do a very crisp line with my tape yet again, and I left a little bit of white just so that it would be a nice straight line, hopefully. After that, we wrapped the top with the plastic wrap, and here's what it ended up looking like. Just before we were ready to paint, we did wipe everything down with a cloth like we did for the top part before unveiling the color, where I had a very astute observation. Ew. Wow, that's blue.
That is blue.
It's like midnight. All right, now we mix. This is the same mixing as the white, where it's 4 parts paint to 1 part hardener, and then I shook it up. We started by spraying the grill that goes on the front to get a good idea of the coverage we would get. And then here is a very good example of the light coats. It doesn't look super promising right now, but after a second and third coat, it's going to be fully covered and really beautiful. This is after the first coat, still looking pretty patchy, but have faith, it will get better. Oh yeah, it looks so good! The third coat went on really quickly and turned out very beautiful, I believe. So here is the final results after the third coat, and it was here that we realized we'd made a mistake. So when we re-wrapped it to paint the blue, we did not wrap the entire roof because I didn't think that that would be a problem, but it was. There was a very clear line of blue overspray from where the plastic wrap ended, which was very disappointing. If we had just wrapped the whole roof, we wouldn't have had this problem, but it was very clear to see. So what we ended up doing was re-taping the roof line and rewrapping the entire bottom of the van so that we could do a final coat of white to cover up that blue overspray. We did try wiping it off with acetone, which would have worked, but took a lot of elbow grease and wasn't as easy as just doing a final coat of white. So here it is with the roof line taped up and the entire van saran wrapped so that we could get that final coat of white on to cover the blue overspray. As you can see, we don't have a paint booth. We are just doing it in my sister's garage. So we did the best we can, and after that final white coat, it looked perfect, in my opinion. In the next video, we will be untaping everything, unwrapping all of the plastic wrap, putting everything back on, and finishing this boy up. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.